What if the thing you've been told to do your whole life, talk more, explain more, prove more, is actually the very reason you're being overlooked? Silence has a way of pulling people in, not pushing them away. When you stop filling every moment with words, you create a space that naturally invites curiosity. Most people are used to constant noise, endless talking, explaining, and reacting. So when someone chooses silence instead, it breaks that pattern. It becomes noticeable, and what stands out immediately becomes intriguing. Curiosity is born in the unknown. When everything is said too quickly, there's nothing left to discover. But when a man holds back, when he doesn't rush to reveal every thought or emotion, it leaves open loops in the other person's mind. She starts wondering, what is he thinking? What is he feeling? Why isn't he reacting the way others do? And those questions keep her mentally engaged, even when you're not around. At the same time, silence builds emotional tension. Not the uncomfortable kind, but a subtle, magnetic tension that creates anticipation. It slows the interaction down. Instead of everything being predictable and linear, there's a sense of depth. Every glance, every pause, every small reaction starts to carry more meaning. When you speak less, your presence becomes stronger. Your words are no longer background noise, they become moments. And in between those moments, the silence allows emotions to breathe and grow. It gives her space to feel something instead of just processing information. This is where attraction begins to deepen, because attraction isn't just about what is said, it's about what is felt. And silence amplifies feeling by removing distraction. In that quiet space, connection becomes more intense, more personal, and more memorable. Not because you said more, but because you allowed something real to develop without forcing it. Mystery is powerful because it engages the mind in a way that certainty never can. When everything about you is immediately clear, there's nothing left for someone to explore. But when parts of you remain unknown, it activates imagination. And imagination is where attraction often begins to grow. When a man doesn't reveal everything at once, he creates a sense of depth. Not by hiding who he is, but by allowing layers to unfold naturally over time. This makes every interaction feel like a discovery rather than a presentation. Instead of handing over all the answers, he lets curiosity do the work. Imagination fills in the gaps that silence and mystery create. A woman starts to wonder about your thoughts, your experiences, your intentions, and as she wonders, she becomes more emotionally invested. She's no longer just reacting to what you say. She's engaging with what she feels and what she perceives. That internal engagement is far more powerful than any external explanation. This is why over-explaining often weakens attraction. The more you try to define yourself, justify your actions, or prove your value, the less room there is for imagination. Everything becomes fixed, predictable, and easy to categorize. But attraction thrives in uncertainty, the kind that feels exciting, not confusing. Mystery also signals confidence. It shows that you're comfortable not being fully understood right away. You don't rush to be labeled or validated. And that calm restraint creates a sense of intrigue that's hard to ignore. In the end, mystery isn't about playing games. It's about pacing. It's about knowing that not everything needs to be revealed in one moment. Because when imagination is activated, attraction doesn't just happen. It builds, deepens, and lingers long after the interaction ends. Emotional control is often misunderstood. It doesn't mean suppressing feelings or pretending not to care. It means having the ability to manage your reactions instead of being ruled by them. And that ability quietly communicates something powerful: strength and stability. When a man is easily triggered, overly reactive, or constantly shifting with every emotional wave, it creates unpredictability. And unpredictability, especially in emotional behavior, can feel unsettling. On the other hand, when a man remains composed under pressure, when he doesn't overreact to small things, it signals that he is grounded, that he understands himself, that he can handle situations without losing control. This kind of control builds a sense of safety, not through words, but through consistent behavior. A woman can feel when someone is stable, when his mood isn't constantly changing, when his actions are steady, and when his reactions are measured. It creates an environment where emotions can exist without chaos. It also shows confidence, because when you're secure in who you are, you don't feel the need to prove yourself through exaggerated reactions. You don't get defensive at every challenge or seek validation through emotional displays. Instead, you respond with intention. You choose your reactions rather than letting them choose you. Emotional control also makes your rare expressions more meaningful. When you don't react strongly to everything, the moments when you do show emotion carry weight. They feel genuine, not forced or habitual. Over time, this consistency becomes attractive in a deeper way. It's not about excitement or surface level charm, it's about trust. And trust grows when someone feels they can rely on your emotional presence, no matter the situation. Because real strength isn't loud or dramatic, it's quiet, steady, and controlled. And that kind of stability is something people don't just notice, they're drawn to it. Over-talking often comes from a good place, the desire to connect, to be understood, to make a strong impression. But when it becomes excessive, it can have the opposite effect. Instead of increasing your value, it slowly diminishes it. When you talk too much, you remove the need for the other person to invest. There's no effort required on their part to understand you because everything is already laid out. Attraction, however, grows through mutual discovery. It needs a balance. Give a little, receive a little. But over-talking disrupts that balance by giving too much too soon. It also signals a subtle need for validation. Constantly explaining yourself, filling every silence, or trying to keep the conversation alive at all costs can come across as seeking approval. And the more you seek it, the less valuable your presence feels. Value is often associated with restraint, the ability to hold back, to be selective, to not feel the need to prove yourself in every moment. There's also the issue of predictability. When you say everything that comes to mind, there's no mystery left. Nothing to wonder about, nothing to uncover. You become easy to read, easy to categorize. And while that might create comfort, it rarely creates intrigue. On the other hand, when you speak with intention, when your words are measured and meaningful, they carry more weight. People pay attention. They listen more closely, because what is rare naturally becomes more valuable. Silence, in this sense, acts as contrast. It gives your words space to stand out instead of blending into constant noise. It allows moments to breathe, emotions to develop, and curiosity to build. In the end, it's not about saying less for the sake of it. It's about saying what matters and letting the rest remain unspoken where its value can grow. Presence without words is one of the most underestimated forms of communication. It's the ability to make someone feel seen, understood, and connected without needing to constantly speak. And when it's done right, it creates an impact that words alone often cannot achieve. Most people rely heavily on talking to express themselves. They explain, narrate, and fill silence to maintain connection. But true presence works differently. It's felt more than it's heard. It shows up in how you carry yourself, how you listen, and how fully engaged you are in the moment. When you are genuinely present, your attention is undivided. You're not distracted, not thinking about what to say next, not trying to impress. You're simply there. And that kind of focus is rare. It makes the other person feel important without you having to say it out loud. Eye contact becomes more meaningful, body language becomes more relaxed and grounded. Even small gestures, like a slight nod or a calm expression, start to carry emotional weight. These subtle signals communicate confidence, awareness, and sincerity all at once. There's also a depth that comes with silent presence. Without constant words, the interaction slows down. It allows emotions to surface naturally instead of being rushed or overridden by conversation. Moments feel more real, more intense, because they aren't being diluted by unnecessary noise. This kind of presence also shows emotional security. You're not uncomfortable with silence, and you don't need to fill it to feel in control. That ease creates a calm atmosphere that others are drawn to. In the end, people may forget exact words, but they rarely forget how someone made them feel. And presence, quiet, steady, and intentional, has a way of leaving a lasting impression that words simply can't replace. In a world where everyone is competing to be heard, the man who knows when to stay quiet stands out without trying. Attraction isn't always built through what you say. It's often built through what you don't. Understanding this shifts everything about how you show up, how you connect, and how you're remembered. Speech. There's a reason silence unsettles people. It creates space that most are uncomfortable with. But in that space, something powerful happens. People begin to project, to wonder, to feel. And when it comes to attraction, especially with women, that emotional space becomes magnetic. Most men think attraction is about saying the right things. They rehearse lines, over-explain their intentions, and try to impress with constant conversation. But the more you speak, the more predictable you become. And predictability kills intrigue. A silent man operates differently. He doesn't rush to fill every pause. He doesn't feel the need to prove himself through endless words. Instead, he observes. He listens. And when he finally speaks, his words carry weight because they are rare. Silence signals control. Not just control over the conversation, but control over himself. A man who is comfortable being quiet is a man who isn't seeking approval. He's not desperate to be liked. And that alone shifts the entire dynamic. Women are highly attuned to emotional cues. They pick up on subtle signals, tone, energy, presence. When a man is constantly talking, it often reveals nervousness, insecurity, or a need to validate himself. But when he's calm, composed, and selective with his words, it communicates confidence without ever saying it. There's also mystery. Silence leaves questions unanswered. It invites curiosity. When you don't reveal everything at once, you give someone the chance to discover you over time, and discovery is what keeps attraction alive. Think about it. What's more intriguing? Someone who tells you everything about themselves in the first hour, or someone who reveals just enough to keep you wondering? The silent man understands this. He doesn't hide, but he doesn't overshare either. He lets things unfold. And in that unfolding, emotions deepen. Because attraction isn't built through information, it's built through feeling. And silence amplifies feeling. It also creates tension. Not awkward tension, but emotional tension. The kind that makes someone think about you after you're gone. The kind that lingers. When every moment isn't filled with noise, the connection becomes more intense, more real. But silence isn't about being distant or cold. It's about being present, fully present, listening with intent, making eye contact, feeling the moment instead of trying to control it with words. When you master this, something shifts. You stop chasing attention, and attention starts coming to you. You stop trying to impress, and instead you become intriguing without effort. Because at the end of the day, it's not the loudest man in the room who stands out. It's the one who speaks less but means more.